Hi, welcome to BS Garage. On this one, she's all fixed up and working awesome. Let's go. I completely screwed up. My own dumb fault. Shouldn't have done it. Shouldn't have cheaped out, but I did. Let me show you why. So what had happened was I lost the crank bolt for the Innovators West bouncer. And I thought maybe it just fell out. No, that's not the case whatsoever. This thing has a Summit Racing rotating assembly in there, so it's got a hardened steel crank that's keywayed for like a blower application. Well, I lost the keyway, and I just went to my local hardware store and I picked up one that had, you know, the same dimensions. Thought that's going to be good enough. That is not good enough. So after I took the belt off and stuff, I could literally take the dampener and wiggle it, and then I pulled it off by hand. You should never, ever be able to do that. When I pulled it off by hand, I found out that it basically ate the keyway because it's a hardware store keyway and it isn't meant, and probably wasn't hardened steel, obviously. Again, my own dumb fault. I'm an idiot. But you can see that groove inside there? That is not supposed to be there. And see this crap right here? That is what is left of the keyway. So this is now a very expensive paperweight. I ordered a new one, but like I said, it's downtime now, so I gotta wait. And because I gotta wait, I'm gonna make some revisions. I wanna make some changes. I'm still having transmission overheating issues. That little guy is not working out so well, so I think I'm going to do either another one or a combination of something. I don't know. I still got to make up my mind on that. But I do know that I want to redo all of this, all the cooling system here. I feel like this guy would be good enough for a small block Chevy or something similar to that, because that's really what it's meant for. It's just an upgraded unit. It's only 2 inches thick, 2-row, and I feel like she's just kind of barely holding on to keeping this thing cool. But I want it to just be super, super efficient. So I'm going to upgrade it to this guy. I built an Impala like a year or two ago, and I had this thing left over. So this is a 4-inch thick, 4-row, similar dimensions. If, you know, for whatever reason, areas don't work, I mean, I can cut and TIG weld that together. So I don't know, like I said, I want to lob this off, lob that off, start all over from scratch. Build it to be super efficient. I also want to get rid of this tank. I feel like this is unnecessary. There's only this much water in the bottom of it. My temps never got that hot. And let's be real, this is more of a street car than a race car. So I'm never really ever going to put ice in this thing. So I want to do a tank that style, I think right here, to give me more room in order to access everything. Because even right now, just to get down at like my AC hoses and stuff like that, it's just such a pain in the ass. So that's going to go away, change it to that. But like I said, this is all, we did it, right? Did it work? Kind of. Can we upgrade it? Yes. Should we take the opportunity to do it? For sure. Like, cause you know, I want to be able to drive this car without any issues, cross country, whatever. And I just don't want to have to like worry about it. And even the little bit of town driving that I did, things worried me. So obviously I just want to make changes. So that's what I'm going to work on right now. It's just basically removing all of the accessory drives. Oh, and another thing, I don't know if you can see it or not, but power steering pump, one of the lines is like literally hitting on one of these pieces that I built for the upper control arms. So I'm going to trim that out so that it fits a little bit better. Never noticed that in mock-up, so change it now while everything's out. So like I said, I'm going to take all the accessories off, take all this off, basically lob this all off and just figure out something that will work there in order to work with that, and then build off from there. That is the plan. Yeah, so I got everything out of my way. Gone. Move the core support, cut the sheet metal out of the way that was in the way in order to work off of this and make my own setup for the cooling. And what else? So I checked the crank snout. It's good to go. Can't grab anything with my finger or anything like that. So I'm happy with that. One thing I'm not happy with is this double roller billet timing chain set that I got. because it's the it's a LM7 block basically. So it's a 5.3 block that's been bored and stroked over, but it doesn't have a factory tensioner in it like an LS3 style does. So I went with this timing chain set because I thought, yeah, that'll keep better, right? Like tension, no. Look at how much slop is in there already. So I'm gonna ditch this setup. I'm gonna go with the LS3 style, actually one, and then do ICT Billet makes a bracket that actually bolts up right here, and then you can drill in the tensioner, the guide, so that will bolt right in. I just have to be really careful because I'm not gonna obviously disassemble the entire short block to do that, but just, you know, keep track of my shavings, go slow, use some Vaseline when I drill, and that should be good to go. So I got that coming. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna drop the oil pan and then get all of this out of my way. And I don't know where to go from there. I'm just gonna keep moving, and I'll keep updating you along the way. It's been a couple of days. Modifications are out of the way. Like I said, I wanted to eliminate that core support, so I did. Made my own. So this is some angle aluminum that I basically welded some plates to. It bolts to the frame with isolators, comes up, and then bolts to the factory fender supports here. So this is nice and sturdy. And the new radiator, I'll show you there in a second, but just slides right over, bolts right up. I made the air intake work with it, bolts to that. I've got a piece of ABS plastic here, all my wiring and stuff. Bolts to that on the backside, so that's pretty much hidden. Where the old ice box was, because I'm going with a much smaller one in order to free up some room and just make it a little bit of a simpler setup. Took some ABS plastic, cut it to shape, riveted it in, and once that thing is bolted there, you won't even be able to tell, because this is a nice texture, black, but it's solid. I basically shoved it up in between here, drilled out all where these bolts, so it bolts to that, and then it rivets to the factory inner fender. And then where I made all my cuts here to cut everything out, it has all edge seal on it, so nothing's gonna get frayed or cut, like, because all my hoses and stuff have to run through here. What else did I do? I made clearance down there for the power steering pump because that was hitting before. Yeah, let me throw that radiator in there and I'll show you what my setup looks like. So you can see how much more massive this radiator is. It's over double the capacity of the old setup. I got new fans and stuff coming. I got to make another custom shroud because I have limited room right here. I already melded in the bung for the steam vent port kit, so that'll just go right where it used to be. But this is gonna work out nicely. I mean, all my other, so I'm gonna do AC, and I think I'm gonna do transmission instead of the supercharger intercooler up there, and then do the supercharger one underneath. Is kind of my thought, because that thing never got hot or warm, but the transmission, I think it needs like all the help it can get. I got a new like the 40K True Cool setup coming, so a lot of guys raved about that when I posted like my issues. So just get one of those. You don't even need fans. It keeps it nice and cool. So I'm really hoping that they're right and that's going to work out. Plus it being right up front, that should make it a lot better. And for an icebox too, I don't know if I mentioned it, but I'm getting just a similar one, same exact one as that. I've got 12 AN bungs coming. I'm just going to weld them to the bottom and to the side for the you know, where the pump sucks it, and then where it returns in, and then I'll bolt up right here, so it'll be nice and kind of symmetrical, look good, and everything's out of the way. So I mean, that's kind of where I'm at, but like I said, I'm just waiting on parts, so we'll pick it back up when I get some more parts in. Got the majority of the parts to slap this thing back together. First thing I got to do is I got to modify, well, the block. Little hesitant to do this because this is going to throw some metal shavings, but as long as I figure I keep track of them, go slow, use a vacuum while I do it, they should be fine. Upgrading to an LS3 chain guide style, but the LM7 blocks, they do not have the provisions for it. So ICT Billet makes this pretty trick bracket that bolts into the cam retainer plate where that does bolt into, and then it gives you the 2 holes to drill. And then I have an M8 by 125 drill bit and tap, and then that will allow this to bolt in. I got to take measurements off this because I don't want to drill all the way through, because if you drill all the way through, you might hit the crank. That would be bad. And then I got, instead of like the dual setup, the single. So this is like an LS3 style. I mean, it's a 4-phase, but it doesn't matter because the cam doesn't read off The cam doesn't read off this. Like I could have went with a 2 or whatever, but got it from Michigan Motorsports. Comes with, you know, the bottom piece with the oil pump and then an ARP bolt. So they're a pretty good go-to for quality. So I'm pretty pleased with that. But I'm going to get this knocked out and I'll show you along the way. Got the guide plate all bolted in where the cam retainer plate was. Just got some tape wrapped around it to kind of catch the shavings. But I'm just going to slowly drill it with some Vaseline on the end of the drill bit. Did some measurements. And that's how far I need to go in. Can't go any further than that. Otherwise, you know, I'm gonna touch the crank and that's gonna be bad. So wish me luck. We'll see how this goes. So I was thinking about it and I'm gonna switch out these longer bolts for a little bit shorter ones. ARP bolts that I had left over. Still M8 125, but as you can see, it's much shorter. I don't think it's gonna affect it in any way. It just, I don't know. I want that extra what if, you know, I don't want to drill into the crank. I don't want to go that far. I don't want shaving seat on the backside. So I'm going to switch it up and then that way I don't have to drill nearly as deep. Completely nerve-wracking. Just went slow, drilled slow, moderate pressure, made sure I didn't go past my tape line. I actually vacuumed this out a couple of times, you know, to drill it, vacuum it out, drill it, vacuum it out, but no shavings got anywhere besides like where they wanted to be. So I also made sure that the crank, just in case I did blow through the other end, was out of the way. Like there's a little bit of a chamfer on the crank on the backside. Again, I don't really recommend doing this with the block assembled, but it is possible. So I still have that hole to drill, but it's going, it's getting there. There we go, got it tapped. Basically just coated the tap in the Vaseline again and just ran through a couple turns, pulled it out, cleaned it off. I think for each hole I did it like 8 times just to make sure I got all the shavings out. And then did it again once it was fully tapped and just kept doing it until like all the shavings came out and it's nice and clean. I didn't get any metal shavings anywhere besides where I wanted them to go, kept track of everything. So I am fairly confident that I'm not going to ruin my engine because of this. So yeah, that's awesome. Now I can go ahead and throw the timing set back on and then the guide on. There we go. Got the oil pump and lower sprocket pressed on, and then got the guide on and chain and the top sprocket, cam sprocket, everything torqued to spec. It's gonna work out nice. This is a lot tighter, and I mean, I like the guide so much better than not having a guide, especially on something higher performance, higher horsepower. So it's gonna work out nice. I still gotta do, I mean, obviously the oil pump and stuff next, but I wanna open it up and go through it because of like the way that the balancer was. I think it was kind of hitting on it. I just want to make sure everything is good still inside there. So I'm going to tear that thing open, go through it, clean it up, re-lube it, and then I'll put it back on. All right, got the pump and everything on. Got the timing cover just set in there. It's loose because the dampener will center this. I got a new seal here because it pretty much like melted the old seal the way that the balancer just kind of shook on there. Got my new keyway in. And then now comes the fun part. So I got a brand new, which hurt the pocketbook quite a bit, balancer here from Innovators West. This is a press fit. You're not supposed to heat it. You're not supposed to do anything. It's supposed to be within 0.001 tolerance. I'm really hoping this goes smoothly. I have the proper install tool for it. I'm gonna lube it up and hopefully this goes smoothly and on. Let's find out. I don't know why I thought that was going to be a struggle, but it's fairly straightforward using the correct tools. I basically doubled up the washer. So I had the washer that the balancer came with to go in. And then I used like an ARP washer that came with like an ARP bolt that I had. And then this is the installation tool here with a nut on it. Fairly simple. Went on smoothly, like I said. So now, yeah, I got the main bolt in there. Red Loctited, cranked down to 130 foot-pounds, like instructions say. And now this is centered, so I can tighten this sucker up, throw the oil pan on, and start throwing the rest of the accessories on. Front accessory drive all buttoned up, working out real nice. So now I got to move on to the tank, the reservoir tank for the supercharger intercooler system. Like I said, I just got another one of these things, same thing as the overflow tank for the cooler. Got a couple of 12AN bungs. I'm going to weld one in here for the feed and then one like right here for the return. So I'm going to get that knocked out and then mount it up like as symmetrical as possible so that they just kind of match, make it look a little bit cleaner. All welded up. Just letting it cool down. While I let that cool down, I'm gonna move on to the radiator fan shroud. So I gotta make a new one, got some new fans, got some 3/16 ABS plastic that I'm gonna make it out of. So I'm basically just gonna make my own shroud, cut out where the fans need to go, and just go from there. Just gotta make sure I get the correct spacing. I know I'm gonna have a little bit of a clearance issue up in here with the intake, so I might have to like heat up and bend, or just like, I don't know. I know that that's gonna be an issue, but I'll make it work. It'll all fit. And there we go. Obviously this isn't a how-to make your own fan shroud, but it's 3/16 plastic. I got a couple of 12-inch fans, cut out holes for where it needed to be, and where this needed to mount up to the radiator. I've got some high-density foam on the backside here and some standoffs on the radiator itself. Which way's up? This way's up. Let's see if we can do this with one hand. Hold on. So yeah, just like that. So the foam will keep it all sealed off so that the fans work as efficiently as possible. I have some relief cuts on the bottom just so that some air can come through. I probably should put some like reliefs in here with some flappers. I think that's what they usually do, but I think that this radiator is so big that won't matter. I think this is gonna be plenty of airflow. If it comes to that, I'll mess with it, but I think that this is a pretty good design. And will work out nicely. So I can bolt this to this, and this is one solid unit now. So it's super late. I'm calling it quits because my brain's fried and I hate working like that. I think I'm gonna mess something up at that point. So as you can see, you got the radiator in, got the AC condenser in, got the reservoir tank for the supercharger in. See, my brain's fried, I can't even talk. That works out nice. That's all hooked up, everything but the return line that runs from there to the air to water intercooler that goes up front. But I am running, so that right there, that's the TrueCool 40K. I gotta make some brackets to mount up to that, so that'll drop in as one unit. And I'm gonna run it in line with the one that I already have underneath there. So hopefully that'll keep the transmission temperatures nice and cool. That's the idea behind that. I just gotta make, yeah, like I said, brain is gone. I gotta make brackets for it, do it in the morning, hook everything up, fill it with fluids, fire it up, hopefully drive it by tomorrow afternoon. New day, fresh start, feeling good. So I've got the cooler mounted up to the heat exchanger for the supercharger, using some rubber isolators here and some pre-existing holes, and everything actually kind of lined up. The cooler came with some brackets. I just had to trim them down to fit, and the holes lined up perfectly where they needed to some pre-existing holes that I just opened up. Bolts in, looks good. Only thing is, this is a shiny aluminum, and we do not want that showing through the grill to keep that sleeper look. So I'm gonna spray bomb this black a minute, let that dry, and then we can start assembling everything. All right, so much better painted black, right? And then I got 6AN lines running instead of like the hose that came with it. So I just had some lines left over from previous projects that I made up. So it'll go through the bottom one first, come back up to the low pressure side actually here. To my understanding, you have to kind of mount it this way. If you mount it upside down like the fittings are on the bottom, it won't utilize the whole cooler. So that's something to note. I mean, that makes sense, science, right? So it'll fill it all the way up and then go back into the transmission. I'm really hoping that this helps out a ton because that thing is huge. And as you can see, like everything still fits. So I still got my factory hood latch. Everything clears. It's looking good. I got my new hose made up here for the tank to the heat exchanger for the supercharger. But now I need fluids. I don't have any water, and I don't have any power steering fluid. So I'm gonna run to the store. I'm gonna go grab that stuff. And we're gonna fire this thing up, get everything bled, and hopefully take it for a ride. He's up and running. The only issue I had was I didn't tighten that fitting down there, so I was losing a little bit of coolant for the supercharger. But the fans are working great. I mean, when they kick on, it cuts it down. It's about 85 degrees out today. And it holds steady where it needs to be. So I think that's freaking awesome. Went through, I made sure that it's bled through the transmission. So that like has fluid coming through it because that's a return line that goes back. Topped off my fluid after kind of driving it. Not driving it, but like putting it in drive, letting the wheels rotate, letting the gears go through what they need to go through. Let most of the coolant out, just kind of going through again. Just making sure I get all the air bubbles out. But yeah, it sounds good. It's smooth, healthy. Love it. Okay, we got 35 pounds of oil pressure. It's sitting at 200. Looking good. So yeah, I'm fairly confident I can go drive this thing now. Just took it on its like longest leg journey ever, maybe about 100 miles or so like that. But I mean, it worked out awesome. No issues whatsoever, no leaks. Trans temps well under control, coolant temps well under control. I still got my crank bolt pulley, everything's on there, everything's set, everything's good, and I'm so happy. It's awesome. If you guys made it this far in the video, hit that like, hit that subscribe. Got a lot more coming up, got a lot more interior stuff, and hopefully start beating on this thing soon. So thanks for watching, guys.